Do the Beatles and this particular senior royal have a very strange... The Beatles were the biggest band in the world, but they have a rather distinct royal connection. And as ever, what is it? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the very heart of London. Nice to see you today. We're in a gorgeous area of London right now. It's a sort of place really where money was money and still remains money. It's all full of great history too, like the fact that it was on this street way back on the 30th of January 1969 that the Beatles, the biggest band in the world who had given us so many hits for so many years, played their very final concert together, live concert. That's right, it was on the top of this building, which was then owned by them, the Apple building. Now, of course, it's a different Apple today, isn't it? You know, a rather bigger one. We know all about that lawsuit, don't we? With, of course, Sir Paul McCartney and the owner of Apple. Not quite sure exactly how all that really was resolved. Must check that out. But on a more serious note, this concert really was one of those events that you had to be there, apparently, to believe it. They played, obviously, all their latest hits that they were working on at that particular time. And it was really radical, you know, to just go up on the roof and put this concert out. You can imagine, can't you, that people were just stopping in the street during their lunch break thinking, where? What's that noise? Because you can't quite see, of course, on top of the roof. But it does have a royal connection. Oh yes, because, of course, our wonderful Princess Diana basically had a gentleman as her close protection officer, a man that I now consider a very good friend, Mr. Ken Wolfe. Now, of course, Ken's been very vocal about his time with the late princess, but he was there throughout so many pieces of history. But way back on this date in 1969, he was just stationed around the corner at Savile Row, and he told me that his boss told him to go and see all that racket, find out what it's about, son, and sort it out. So Ken duly did as he was told, got on top of the roof to find the Beatles and obviously their minders and other people all playing this concert. Now, Ken tells this far better than I ever could, and as you say, you see, you had to be there to believe it. Ken then was up on the roof and confronted by one of the most famous men in the world. That's right, John Lennon. But apparently he was in no mood to discuss exactly what was happening or indeed what was going on. Of course, Beatles aficionados will know exactly how all of that was resolved. But is it strange to think that here's a man at the very start of his career dealing with one of the most famous men on the planet at that time, and continued later on in his career to deal with one of the most famous women in the planet at that time. Ken Wolfe truly has a story to tell. He's got a brand new book out, I must also point out, a valuable read for the truth in, of course, what happened during his tenure working within the British monarchy. Now, a lot of people, of course, may say he shouldn't have written a book, but on this instance, I do believe that Ken's written a book which is really truthful. And more importantly, I think it tells his version of events. After all, how can we say it didn't happen? He was naturally there. So if you're a fan of the Beatles and also a fan of Princess Diana, let's face it, who's not? Then this could be the book for you. But more importantly, what a great connection. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.